Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. I'm Prakash Zob. We've talked of religions. We've taken a background of some of the major Indian religions. Now, let us try and understand the basics of Indian philosophy, not just Hindu, because Jain and Buddhist philosophy is also a part of the Indian philosophy that is usually talked of. Indian philosophy is earlier, more varied, and more mature than its Western counterpart. Uh, the philosophical base of West differs from that of the East. East again is Indian, Chinese, and the late Japanese also. These philosophies I will not talk of. I'll concentrate on the Indian aspects of philosophy right now. Uh, there's one major difference between them. Uh, Philosophy and religion in the West was often at conflicts. Sometimes it was even fatal for the philosophers. In India, philosophers were gurus. They were always held in very high esteem. Um, Philosophy, in fact, was an extension of religion in India. And the words are also different. Philosophy, philos is love, and Sophia is knowledge. So, according to the West, philosophy is love for true ultimate knowledge. But in India, the original word is slightly different. The word used is darshan or darshan shastra, the science of philosophy. And the one who is a philosopher is referred to as a darshanik, more of a visualizer. Darshan comes from the root drusha, to see. So it implies that philosophy is true visualization. Um, we must also remember one more thing. Philosophical thought can come only when the stomach is full, after there is spare time to think beyond survival, beyond immediate needs, beyond personal well being. When an intelligent person can spare time to think beyond his basic needs and then think logically, we have development of philosophy. As far as India is concerned, this process started off in the later part of the Vedas also. So we have a transition from Vedas to Vedanga and then to the Vedanta. We also have a transition from Karma Kanda to Jnana Kanda. And that's what the Upanishads really were. But there are obviously two hurdles. One was Sanskrit. Though it's a perfect language, as I have explained long back, it is highly compact. It has a complex grammar, very precise. So the words have multiple meanings depending upon the reference to context. In spite of special books that were designed to explain the meanings, with time there were multiple interpretations. The same core information was interpreted in a variety of forms depending upon the viewpoint and the logic that was applied. This led to multiple schools of thought. These further branched and diversified and specialized also because of the disciples with time. Buddhism and Jainism and their philosophies took a different path altogether. But in spite of all this, since the learning process was originally for all of them through the Upanishads, the philosophies had their core approach to problems practically the same. The answers and the solutions were radically different. As I said, philosophy here is darshan, that is visualization. This concept of what darshan really is what I'm going to talk of today. For this visualization leading to personal realization of truth is the one that would lead to ultimate concept of philosophy in India. Let's look at the basics of what darshan itself is. Drusha, as I said, is to see. The simplest meaning is to see. With what? With our eyes. Close your eyes and you stop seeing. But you don't stop visualizing. You don't stop imagining. And that's the beauty. And what do we see? All that is possible. Today, of course, with development of science, we have so many more additional tools. We have the microscopes and the telescopes and the electron microscopes and the TVs and so many more. I'll come to those when I talk of science, not today. And then why do we see? Uh, Basically to collect information, to get some inputs. It's because of curiosity. We are keen to see things that give us joy. And um, where do we get this knowledge from? From films, from TVs, from shows, from sports, from fights and quarrels, from circuses. But as you all would have realized, we avoid unpleasant sights, accidents, wars. Some people are scared of heights, they don't want to look down. Scary stuff is avoided, and so forth. There's one more meaning to darshan in India. It's the live visualization or meeting or seeing a person. It's like darshan is the darshan that you have in a temple or a major big saint or a sage that you go and see. Or it could be a very big political leader like Modi ji. You're keen to go and see him at least. And isn't that one of the reasons why we go and have visits to live concerts? And many times just one glimpse uh, is good enough, satisfying enough. And then you say that, yes, I had that darshan. There's one more aspect to darshan. Our languages assign words to things we have seen or even those that we have not seen. Um, for seen, it could be something like a black cat or a lion or flickering lights and so forth. There could be some concepts that are presented. Um, Heaven, God, Atma, Brahma, all these. You need to get an idea of what they are and then you tend to visualize. And so, how does a intelligent person or a thinker see? He sees through his inner eye, as it is said, through his mind, through his knowledge, through his intelligence, with a suitable and a logical interpretation added along with it. He can visualize thoughts, and that is the crux of darshan. And so he is called the darshanik, which we commonly talk of in English as the philosopher. We must also realize that Upanishads provide the core concepts and clues. It is the darshanik, the philosopher, who uses these as foundation for his philosophical thought. He interprets the ultimate truth as per his viewpoint and his ability. Many of the concepts in the Upanishads are in the sutra form, maximum meaning with minimum words. So, depending upon the interpreter, sometimes the meanings could be interpreted differently. Um, and the results could be radically different. I'm reminded of one of the mountains in South India. Um, at the top of it, when the rain falls, it goes either on left slope or the right slope, and it trickles down stream, river, and one side reaches the Arabian Sea on one side of India, and the second one trickles down and forms a river that finally goes and meets the Bay of Bengal. So that's how interpretations could be radically different, even if the core material is the same. We've seen this happening even in case of the Mahavakyas that we discussed long back. Darshan often deals with reading between the lines. For this, you need wisdom. It is called prajna. It is called antah chakshu, the inner eye. It's not enough just to know something. A bright kid could memorize the Gita and recite it in front of us precisely. We call him intelligent. We don't call him wise. Indian philosophy is beyond that just yes and no. It's like the Syadvad, which I'll come to sometime later on. Darshan has many more interpretations. We must realize why the word darshan, which is associated to seeing, why the sense of seeing. The reason is visual seeing is a long distance contact. All other senses need a direct physical contact, whether it is taste or touch or heat or cold or smell and so forth. There, in those senses, there is no scope of imagination. Um, these are very difficult to explain verbally without an actual experience. How can you explain sweet and hot and noise and melody unless you have heard either of them before? Unless you have experienced one of them before. And also, one step further, if there are two or three of these ideas to be combined together, that's going to be radically different. How can you explain something like what a shock is? You have to have a shock. Only then will you realize what it is. Um, you can explain what is warm and what is scalding. But we know that the temperature of the sun is 6,000 degrees Celsius. Surface, of course. How can we imagine what that feeling would be? Because we don't have that type of an experience. It needs to come physically. Without it, it's not possible. In case of vision or seeing, this mental visualization is possible. And the combination of concepts is also very easy. I've seen a horse, I've seen a bird, I have that experience in my mind. I can recollect it whenever I want to. And if somebody says, can you imagine a flying horse? Yes, I can. Because now I can combine the two of them and get a concept that's totally different from my previous experiences. When you come to philosophy, isn't that exactly what happens? You have your old experiences that need to be combined in a new manner and interpreted in a new manner. That's exactly what happens. If you don't have an experience, it's very difficult. Suppose there is a perfect, very strong, uh, pure vegetarian person. How can you explain how an omelette tastes? How can you explain the sonorous nature of Shamshad Begum's voice to a person who has not heard this type of a sound? So all these implies that other senses aside, it is only the visual nature that is so important. It is possible only in visual experiences where two different previous experiences from memory can be combined to get an idea or interpret a new concept. Like the Narasimha that we talked of some time back during our discussions of the avatars. There could be some more complex ideas like the one that is used in the Gita, the Urdhva Mool or the Arshwastha. Vruksha, the inverted tree, and its logic. We've never seen inverted trees, but you can imagine what can happen. We must realize that in all these cases, in the Upanishads, the base material is like pure water. It's all the same. Every darshanik and his followers have given their own flavor, their own color to it. And that's how Bharatiya darshan or the Indian philosophy has evolved. It is this visualization that is the darshan. And all this obviously needs a logical extension that can be explained to the others. And that, of course, is the job of the darshanik. What are the different types of darshans? How do they come about? How are they categorized? All that obviously is the next step. What I have mentioned is the base of what the Indian concept of philosophy as darshan is. What are the different forms of darshans is something that we will look to next time onwards. If you have liked whatever I have said, please like and subscribe to this channel. Try and understand the basic concepts of our philosophy. Deeper studies, of course, you will have to take up on your own. I'll provide the basics, not only of what the darshans are, what their objectives are, and what each of them aims at. Till we meet again after one fortnight. Namaskar.